Hello and welcome to episode 348 of Sutton and Back Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and there's really only one way to start off the podcast today, Jason.
It is, yeah. 700 million
Ka-ching.
reasons.
Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Otani.
700 million by the team that, can definitely afford it and has definitely had a really good track record of having Japanese pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
And probably is in the best position to really help extend their brand and his brand. So, as much as I didn't want it to happen, just because I hate when the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I hate that. But logically, even without the money, it made sense that that's where he would go. Now, I've got my big question now is, will Yamamoto, I think is his name, the other Japanese pitcher free agent, coming from Japan, will he want to go now to the Dodgers because he's got a support network and team up with Otani? And if that happens, wow.
Yeah. They're already, even before Otani, they were pretty stacked, at least from if you're just, scrolling rosters and comparing them based on numbers. Like, they were already pretty elite. And now you add one of the best pitchers and best hitters to baseball, even though he's come off an injury. And if you can add another
pitcher. Even though he won't pitch till 2025.
Yeah.
But he can still hit.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, they're going to make more money than they're going to spend on Otani, right?
Yeah, they're going to get all kinds of sponsorships now from Japan. They're probably going to get another TV deal. They're going to probably be able to up their current TV deal, which is like an $8 billion for 25 years is the current deal. They're the best attended franchise in Major League Baseball. They might have to expand or, even now those really low demand games, those Monday and Tuesdays are probably going to be all sellouts now.
Yeah.
They're going to be on ESPN every Sunday night. You can count on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you break it down to, in 2025, you're getting, arguably one of the better pitchers in the game, which if you gave a 10-year, $300 million deal, and one of the better hitters gets a $310 million or 10-year deal, and you all have one player, it's just...
Yeah.
And again, I know it sounds ridiculous to say the number is 700 million and not be blown away by it. It's a lot of money, but I wasn't shocked at that price, I guess, personally.
I was a little shocked because of the elbow surgery.
Yeah.
And then we're talking like 550, which I thought was still high, but I thought, I'd probably, he's probably worth that even just as a hitter. And if he could play a position in the field or whatever, who knows? And then the 700 million, who else can stay in the bidding war? And the Yankees were already out.
Right.
And so supposedly it was them in Toronto.
And I think he ideally wanted to stay in California, right? He wanted to be...
I think he did.
Los Angeles.
He have to move now.
Yeah. LA, San Francisco. That's where he was looking to stay. And now, like you said, doesn't even have to move. But he moved to a much more stable organization. Or lucky, however you want to constitute what the Dodgers are over the Angels.
So now, if you're Mike Trout, what are you going to do? You signed a big contract.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's somebody that will take that contract. But he hasn't been healthy the last year. He missed a lot of games. Do you want to stay there and be part of a mediocre team, or do you want to try and go somewhere and win a title?
I think at this point he's got to go win a title, right?
I think it's very understandable if he has to be traded.
Yeah.
The Angels should just do a total tear down, total rebuild. They're a mess.
Yeah. You just lost Otani for nothing. Yeah.
You had the two best players in baseball for the last 4 years and didn't go to the playoffs.
Yeah, it feels like they need a complete tear down. Send Trout somewhere exciting. Again, it would be really cool if he somehow ended up in the National League and we got that World Baseball Classic, or the World Series. What is it called? The World Baseball Classic.
Yep.
And we got an Otani Trout Part 2, but in the World Series or even in the playoffs because American League.
Yeah.
That would just be a really cool. Yeah, and again, Mike Trout's not going to be. He's not going to win the interview room.
No, but that's not who he is.
That's not who he is. But if we get him a place, where he's on a baseball team where people care, and he's on a big stage and people can just appreciate him as a player, that would be fantastic.
Well, I'd like to see him end up with Phillies, I guess.
I was about to say, I was like, I
Since
feel
that's
like,
his hometown team.
yeah, I was like, the Philly seems like a really good place for him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many prospects or what he would require, but I mean, he's worth all the prospects.
Yeah. I mean, he needs to be surrounded by some other players that have talent. He'd help carry a team to the World Series.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome if the Phillies and the Dodgers were in that National League championship game and those two were playing against each other. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And again, I think that would bring baseball right back to where, that would keep it in the national headlines.
Look at it. I mean, baseball stole the spotlight yesterday over everything, even including the Heisman Trophy.
And including our next thing we're going to talk about, which is the Lakers winning the first ever in-season tournament.
And it almost seemed like LeBron had decided that he wanted to win this, and that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, he just made sure. I mean, because now he's won in the bubble and he's won this. He's won the two most interesting things other than the regular season things, and he's already won those. I mean, this is another championship for LeBron. The players around him seem to have rallied and played. Anthony Davis played out of his mind.
40 and 20 yesterday.
Healthy.
Yeah. And the joking of Austin Reeves' flu game.
Yeah.
And again, you had total buy-in. You ended up with the Bucks, with Giannis and Dame, going against the Pacers with the rising Halliburton, who's probably a top 10 player in the NBA right now. You had AD and LeBron and the Lakers versus Zion and Brandon Ingram. I know it's not quite as exciting, especially because Zion has been a little bit of a disappointment. But if you're Adam Silver, this first year could not have gone any better, right?
And I was pessimistic, and I have to admit it was brilliant, and it's really worked. And now he's talking about those kind of courts for the finals.
Yeah.
To continue to extend the brand for the playoffs and do different things. So, hey, if it works, it works, right?
It seems like the team's bought in. A lot of these games felt like they had the energy of real playoff games, and that was in November and December, which I did not expect that, right?
Right. I didn't either.
I thought the little kids giving medals was kind of cool. The trophy ceremony, the Lakers, they did the champagne, they wore the goggles, LeBron, LeBron has been an incredible ambassador for the NBA. And this was,
No doubt.
as good of anything. Like I said, I don't think if you were Adam Silver and you were in that meeting and you were like, this is what I want to do, and maybe he thought, here's our 10-year projection. What happened this year, I think, was just beyond anything they could have dreamed about.
Yep.
Um,
Unreal.
So congratulations to LeBron James for winning the first ever in-season tournament and making it really feel like an event.
And congratulations to Adam Silver for pulling it off.
Yeah. I mean, I guess while we're talking NBA, there is a story out of the hometown that I'm in and you're currently in right now, New Orleans, that, Zion didn't look svelte by any stretch or in shape, right?
No, and he looked kind of apathetic. Well, I don't know if apathetic's the right word, but lethargic. Let's say lethargic.
Lethargic, yeah, because I think he does care, but apparently another story just leaked. I know it's a local story, but I think it got picked up nationally too, where the team has just implored him, like, it's diet at this point. We got to work on your diet, and apparently he does not care. He's going to eat and drink how he wants to eat and drink. So I don't really know what you do. Like I said, I've always thought about Jared Lorenzen and that wonderful SI story about his food addiction. And, I don't know how what else, Shaq has reached out to Zion. Charles Barkley's reached out to Zion. I'm sure the Pelicans have done all they could. I'm sure if he wanted a personal chef, they would bring him on the plane.
Well, you know what though? If you're gonna be on a diet, New Orleans is not the place to be on a diet.
No, but as Shaq pointed out, they got food everywhere. So it's not like,
Yeah.
you go to Portland, which is supposedly a healthy city, you're eating voodoo donuts every day. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
And I mean, I listened to a little bit of Fred McAfee, ESPN's new favorite, and they were talking about at least drink Coke Zero, because I guess he drinks a lot of soda. And they're like, can you switch to Coke Diet Coke or Coke Zero? Not that it's that much better, but calorically it's a little bit better. And it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen,
No, I mean, I can understand it.
Yeah.
I can understand it.
And I mean, it doesn't look great because, the rookie up in Portland does not look like he's great. But I was kind of advocating for New Orleans to give him, just that change of scenery and bring somebody else down here that's a little more reliable. Because you also hear stories that he's upset that he's not the focal point of the offense. And, Brandon Ingram, A, has been great, but reliability. Zion's missed over 200 of the 400 games he's been in the league for. And he shows no sign that he's going to get serious about his diet. So I don't really know what you do with him.
No idea.
I don't really like what the Knicks have to offer, but I know they're monitoring superstars. and,
Always.
and again, not that New York would be a good place for Zion food-wise, but again, it's hard to any major city. Miami. I mean, you'd like to see him maybe go to Miami.
Desert Island might be the only alternative.
Yeah, or if he was in Miami with their program and them finding him every day that he comes in overweight, maybe they could do something more. But Miami's got
I think Miami might be able to have better luck with him than anybody else. I'll put that way.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, Miami's a really good food city, but yeah, I feel like maybe they could, their track record of what they expect of their players. Because again, when he's healthy and on the floor, he's an unstoppable force. But he's definitely slowed down a little bit and he's a little bit less explosive, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess the only other NBA thing is, the Mavs are having a fairly good season. Kyrie's out for a little while, but it's not as serious as they thought. It's just a foot contusion. Because they're sitting third right now, so.
And my story would still be the 17-4 Timberwolves.
Yeah. Yeah, because Denver with the injuries is 14-9, sitting in fourth place, and everyone still thinks they're the best team. But you got 3 teams ahead of them, and the Lakers are tied, and the Kings are pretty close, and so we're seeing. I mean, that's yeah.
Yes, it's great basketball. It's going to be a really competitive second half of the year.
Yeah. And then obviously, we get to watch the implosion of the Golden State Warriors, sadly.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that just you kept it around too long, and it was going to deteriorate. It had to. There was no other way around it. People get older, people get complacent, people get fat on the money they make. People start getting arrogant, and combine all those things together, and you got a deteriorating franchise.
And knowing nothing.
You also have one that's tough to move the players now because of the salaries.
Yeah.
And their performances of late.
And I actually like their philosophy. I don't know who they could have gotten for those draft picks, but I thought it was brilliant. You've got this core of Steph, Clay, and obviously Draymond. And if you could add 3 top 10 picks, including the number 2 overall pick to your team, like you had to do it, right? It made sense.
Yeah.
But it looks like they missed on Wiseman. He's not even there anymore. It looks like they missed on Moody and missed on Kuminga as far as being like, because especially the year they took Kuminga, they could have got Franz Wagner, who went to the Magic, who seems like he would have been a perfect fit for them, right?
Yep.
And the year they took Wiseman, they could have taken the ball down in Charlotte. I mean, there's different ways it could have played out, and it just seems like I like their philosophy of like, let's add 3 young core players to our already great core, and have that could be our 6th, 7th, and 8th man off the bench, and maybe they eventually become starters, and we're good to go. And they missed on all 3, and all 3 were highly regarded. So,
yeah, absolutely,
not much you can do. But again, it's a team that won a number of championships, and they're doing quite well for themselves, and they have Steph Curry, so I don't feel bad for them by any stretch. But
no, God no.
It's just it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah.
Definitely sad. Definitely sad.
A little bit.
Well, let's talk about the Heisman Trophy winner.
Do you like
the
it?
Highest completion percentage and quarterback rating in the history of college football.
Yeah. And now you got to wonder, he comes out, how high does he go? Is it going to be 3 quarterbacks off the board, 1, 2, 3, or do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. sneaks in there?
Well, Carolina took a quarterback number 1 last year. Are they going to stick with him?
Well, they don't have their quarterback. They don't have their pick because the Chicago owns their pick.
So they don't have their pick. So who else is in the top 3?
And it looks like
the Bears are in the top 3, and they've got to decide if they're going to keep Justin Fields, right?
It sounds like they're going to move on from Justin Fields. It's a different GM. They got to pay him next year. You're kind of resetting the clock. Like, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
As far as teams competing, the Giants would definitely go for a quarterback. The Commanders would go for a quarterback. I think the Bears are going to move on. Carolina obviously doesn't have a pick. The Cardinals are kind of tough, right? Do you think they stick with Kyler, or can they even get? I think you can get more for Justin Fields than you could for Kyler.
I agree.
But then you look at the other teams that are competing for somewhat high picks. I think Tampa Bay would grab a quarterback. I think the Saints would love a quarterback. I already said the Giants.
Yeah.
I think
I
Seattle.
think you could have 5 or 6 quarterbacks go in the first 15 picks.
Yeah, you look at Seattle and the Rams. Both those teams probably are looking. I assume the Raiders are not super in love with O'Connell. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. And then Tennessee. I don't know if they believe enough in the guy they got. And New England clearly wants a quarterback. And I think the Jets. The Jets are the interesting one, right? They're sitting at 4-8.
They probably can't take it.
With Rodgers coming back.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
They got a player now.
And while we're on the subject of the Jets, I sort of feel like when I keep seeing them to get all this crap about the Zach Wilson thing, right? And they clearly missed on that pick, but it's not like they sat on their laurels. I mean, they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. It's just that he got hurt, and that's why they're playing Zach. But I don't think they should have got Aaron Rodgers and 2 other quarterbacks.
No, and here you're putting a guy in, and you've already said, "Hey, you suck."
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you need to go play again.
Exactly.
I mean, I think he's checked out. I think he was looking for whatever his next situation is going to be. He's not going to be a Jet next year.
No. I feel like he might have a Mitch Trubisky trajectory where he's got all this talent and physical ability. He's going to end up as like the backup in Kansas City or Buffalo or somewhere good. Flash a little bit in preseason. Get a contract like Trubisky did, sadly, with the Steelers, and then flame out again. And hopefully the Steelers have learned their lesson about the retread of a Zach Wilson type.
You would hope.
And while we're on our Steeler moment, because they did lose to the Patriots, they've lost two-win teams in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, in the same week, actually.
In the same week. They still sit at 7-6 somehow. And I am for the right price, I would love to see Justin Fields come in and compete with Kenny Pickett for the starting job next year.
Well, I'm just going to root to go 7-10.
I am too.
And I don't think they're going to fire Tomlin, which I think they should. I think it's time for a change.
Yeah,
I don't think they will.
No, I think it was on the ESPN show, so Stephen A. was on there, but Ryan Clark does most of the talking, and I think Ryan Clark got some really interesting things to say about some of the flaws of Tomlin. And that's a guy that has backed Tomlin like, a family member on ESPN for the last decade. But, yeah, I think the best probably example is when Andy Reid was fired from Philadelphia. Andy Reid has gone on to win.
Example.
He's gone on to win Super Bowls with Kansas City, and Philadelphia has gone on to have a ton of success. It was a good organization. It was time. And you hear all the rumblings come out of that Steeler locker room, and there's just something's off there.
Yeah.
And I think they need a new voice in that locker room.
Agreed.
And if they could get something like a draft compensation for him, that would be incredible too.
It's just time.
Yeah. Leaving a sad story of the Steelers onto a great one. LeBron's son, is going to play.
Yep.
He's going to make his college debut on Sunday. They said he's going to come off the bench, probably not play very long, but considering his career thought maybe be over, or he might even suffer long-term effects. That's great that he's going to be able to play.
Yep. And so a lot of people will be watching him. We'll see how it goes, but we'll wish him all the best.
Exactly.
Shout out to the 4 teams that qualified for the national championship for women's volleyball. Pitt will play Nebraska on Thursday night, and Texas will play Wisconsin. So those are the top 4.
And you said, despite being born in the city, and I was born in Pittsburgh as well, you were going to buy your first Pitt shirt, right?
Well, I ordered a shirt for Mom and I last night. It's my very, very first ever thing that will say Pitt on it. Not Pittsburgh Pirates, not Pittsburgh Steelers, but Pitt.
Right.
Yes, it's my very, very first piece of gear from Pitt.
And that's
I'm going to root hard for the women volleyball players from Pitt, even though they're playing the number 1 seed to start the tournament.
Yeah. I still find when you told me that you had never owned a Pitt anything, I was kind of shocked.
I grew up as a Notre Dame fan, and anytime Pitt played Notre Dame, I would go to the game and root for Notre Dame.
Wow.
Yep.
I feel like
Pitt, ever. And my friends went to Pitt, and I never even remotely thought about going to Pitt. Not even remotely. Never on my radar.
I feel like as a child I owned Pitt something, didn't I? Maybe.
You did. You went to. We actually have a picture of you with the Pitt Panther.
Yeah. Okay.
And Smokey the Bear.
Okay. Yeah.
At a Pitt game, because we bought a Pitt family season football ticket one year.
Okay. I was like, because I remember seeing pictures of me in Pitt gear, and I was like, you must have had something, but yeah, that's nothing. Wow.
No, I had nothing.
Yeah. There you go. And sadly, we are both, we have a family of illnesses. Otherwise, we would be in the same room. We're in the same city, and we got to spend time together in person yesterday, which was really nice. But
and we had a really nice dinner last night at GW Finn's, like we always do.
Yeah. And got to sit outside and talk before that at the Sully Mansion, which is also a great place if you come down here.
Yeah, we had great. But today looks kind of dubious. We had 3 people under the weather.
Yeah. So we're hoping everybody is getting better and feeling healthy, and around everybody else too. And if you are going to be sick, I do hope you are sick this week and not during Christmas break, if you do get that time off, because that's so much better.
If you're sick, remember, you don't want to make other people sick.
No, you do not. I guess NFL today, the big game is pretty much just Dallas and Philly, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big game. I'm excited about watching that.
And what are your initial thoughts? Is this where Dallas gets over the hump?
I think it's going to be a really good game.
It's in Dallas, so...
It's in Dallas. I think it's 34-25, 34-26, somewhere in that range, Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we have some other big games, Buffalo at Kansas City, which I don't feel like I'm as excited about as I should be. But I'm just not.
No, I look for Kansas City to have a big bounce back game.
I'm hoping so. It looks like Rashid Rice is really starting to come on as a Patrick Mahomes target.
Hoping so, because he's in my fantasy lineup today.
And then I like the idea of Zach Ertz, who is a free agent right now, and I guess he's looking at Philadelphia. He's looking at Kansas City. I thought if he went to Kansas City and they started playing Ertz, Travis Kelce, and Rashid Rice, like that's a nice little threesome of somebody for Patrick Mahomes to throw to.
Agree. Dallas Goddard come back yet?
I don't know if he's back yet. Because all the other games...
I thought Ernst would have signed by now.
Yeah, he said he wanted to take a full... I think he's going to watch the results this week and sign based on the results of this week. Because he is looking at, like I said, he's looking at just contenders. Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia. And, I'm sure, if he's going to be your second or third tight end, no matter who you are, like, that's a nice get, right?
Oh, yeah.
Down the playoff stretch. So I could even, I know Dallas has done pretty good with Ferguson and some of those other guys, but I'm sure they would look at him. And maybe, I always thought, I don't want to see him go there, obviously, for personal reasons, but having lost Mark Andrews, Baltimore feels like a good fit for him.
That's where I thought he'd end up, because he could go there. Isaiah Likely is a good player.
He is.
But he would benefit from Ernst being there and doing some 2 tight end things and learning from Ernst too.
Yeah, I would assume, and again, I don't know how, I haven't paid attention to Ertz on the Cardinals. I think it seems like based on the contenders looking at him, he must still have something in the tank. But if I'm Baltimore and I'm missing Mark Andrews, like, I'm pushing hard for him. If I'm Lamar, I'm like, go get this guy. So
yep,
we'll see how that goes, though.
That's what I think, but we will see.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like Mahomes is kind of hard not to root for on some level. And anytime we can get him another weapon so he can be competing in the playoffs, I'd be happy about that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
What else we got?
I think we got some TV and entertainment.
We do. I watched Bye Bye Barry on Amazon Prime Video last night. And it's a documentary on Barry Sanders. The big question they ask in the beginning, and it's pretty much answered by the end, is why did you walk away after 9 years when you could have left as the all-time leading rusher probably by the end of year 10 or early in year 11 season?
Yeah.
And he answered it and did really well. No, I'm not going to give it away. But, it was a really, really interesting thing. And I mean, one thing I didn't realize, remember when LeBron got all the grief for the decision?
I do.
Did you know that Barry Sanders retired by fax?
I did not.
He sent a fax before he left on a plane to London saying he was retiring.
Oh.
And the funny thing was, he had explained, his 4 sons are in the video with him at the end. And he had to explain to his son what a fax was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does he get into the fact that, he didn't want to be talked out of it, and he just figured, I'll just leave the country, I'll send him a fax, and that way, like, I don't have to go to, if I went back to that locker room in that stadium, maybe they pull me back and I end up playing one more year? Or was there not even discussion?
I don't know. I mean, his father was a real dominant guy. In fact, when he told his mother he was retiring and didn't tell his father till later. And I mean, when you watch the video, you'll see that his father, it's Berg basking in reflective glory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. And his father says Barry's the 3rd best running back of all time. Jim Brown being number 1,
right.
Him being number 2, and Barry being number 3. So it seems like he was Lamar Ball before Lamar Ball.
It's nice he still put somebody ahead of him, though.
Yeah.
And he put himself above Emmett and some of those other guys. It's pretty nice. It's a good job on his part.
But he was a big OU Sooners fan, the father.
Yeah.
And Barry only had 3 scholarship offers: Iowa State, Tulsa, and Oklahoma State. And when he went to Oklahoma State, his father was really upset, wouldn't talk to him.
Wow.
In fact, when you see his father on the sidelines, a lot of times he's wearing a Kansas Jayhawks hat. They're from Wichita, Kansas.
It's hard to imagine Kansas.
Real interesting.
Yeah, Kansas did not offer him a scholarship. It's pretty crazy.
So I would tell you, definitely watch this. This is really, really good. Even if you only watch it to watch the Barry Sanders highlights.
Yeah, which are incredible.
Those are fairly incredible.
Yeah.
But it's a great story with great highlights. So I would highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, Barry Sanders' highlights hold up really well. It's like him, Bo Jackson. Those other, they're just incredible.
I mean, it's a highlight of a generational player.
Yeah. And in basketball, you got guys like Dominique and in-game dunking, some of those people where you're just like, whoa, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
And early Sean Kemp, that kind of thing, yeah. Well, we ate last night.
I'm still watching the great race.
Okay.
The amazing race. And the finals are this week, and I think the finals take place in Seattle. They just got that in Ireland. It was really, really... it's the only reality show I'm watching it. I find it really enjoyable.
Okay.
So that finals this week. Looking forward to January 14th and True Detective.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Looks really good. Jodie Foster is the star this time.
And Fargo is off to a good start. I've only seen one episode, but the new season's really good. John Hamm and some other people in it. It's if you like
the first episode, we'll watch that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's enjoyable. And we ate at GW Finn's last night, which we've talked about before, but it's always quality.
Always quality. I've been going there for, at least 21 years.
Yeah.
And it's never disappointed. Never disappointed. Always good. I limited myself to 5 drop biscuits last night and still was able to eat my dinner and half my dessert.
And the dessert was such a rich dessert, I think.
Yeah, it is. It was a chocolate mousse bomb, and it was definitely a bomb. I'm happy that I was able to eat half of it, but there's no way I could eat a whole one of those.
No.
Then this morning, Mom and I went to the Red Dog Diner.
Yeah.
That we just looked on Google Maps, and I saw they had blueberry pancakes with blueberry butter and blueberry syrup. And my mind was made up. So we went there. I had that, and Mom had the berry waffle, which was a waffle with blueberries cooked in it, topped with blueberries and strawberries and whipped cream, and it was outstanding as well. So big thumbs up. And one of the guys asked me, was it better than Ruby Slipper? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah. Ruby Slipper, if you don't know it, I don't know how big of a chain it is, but it's a New Orleans. I think it started in New Orleans. It's a chain, but it's pretty solid. But I mean, there's we've talked about Bearcat on here, and then Red Dog, and there's some other spots that are smaller, nice spots. So
yeah, this was absolutely incredible.
Well, that is good to hear. And I think that's probably gonna do it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think I want to shout out to my friend George Liotis, who refereed he's a side judge. His last game after a 20-year officiating career was the Army-Navy game, and they gave him a really, really nice shout-out on CBS when they broadcast the game yesterday.
Nice.
So, congratulations, George. You did what a great game to go out on.
Oh, yeah. And I think for our Patreon people, I think we're going to do an episode next week, and then we might come back in January full tilt. We'll see if we get one in before then, but just so people are aware.
With holidays coming up and everything, but yeah, we'll do something around. We'll talk about it. Hopefully we get one more in, and then we'll probably come back right around the bowl games and the New Year's Day bowls and the playoff games.
Exactly. So keep enjoying. Hopefully stay healthy if you can.
Please stay healthy. There's a lot of stuff going around right now.
Yeah, wearing a mask might, I know it's triggering for some people, but it might not be a bad idea for the next couple of weeks. Just so you
Not at all.
get to your family healthy. All right, we'll talk to you next week.